Okay, everybody, this is the Marxist Saw channel. Today, we're going to talk about something that's happening. We're going to talk about this email that was sent out by the Arkansas Division of Workforce Services. And who the Arkansas Division of Workforce Services, what it is basically is it's in charge of a couple things, but it's unemployment services, or unemployment. When somebody files for unemployment, it's done through the Arkansas Division of Workforce Services. And so for that reason, everybody who employs anybody has to register with the Arkansas Division of Workforce Services. It's a state program. And so I guess April the 13th, this email was sent out to everybody who's, registered with the Arkansas Division of Workforce Services. Everybody, all the employers. Anybody who legitimately employs anybody in Arkansas is, So, but what this is basically... So Arkansas and I think 22 other states are taking measures to end unemployment benefits from COVID early. And then Biden has also, wants to enforce something similar to this. He's stated that, and we'll look at that later. But this is just Arkansas. You could probably look at your own state if, you're one of the 22 states. We'll look at who those are. But this is what they're sending out to employers. And it's scary, before we get in it, it's scary because people are still going to need their employment benefits, but also a lot of people don't know what kind of trap they're going into if they go to a job. And, from a personal experience working here in Arkansas, there are some very malicious employers in this place that really like to take advantage of their employees. To give my own personal account, I worked for a company where we built stuff, right, basically. And this employer, when I showed up, never had to file a W-2 or anything. I don't think we had to file a W-2. I'm pretty sure we did not have to file a W-2 because I just showed up and started working. And and so we basically, nothing, just showed up and started working. Well, a month or so into it, they want me to use an angle grinder to cut some steel bars that are in the ground. And keep in mind, he had been on me since I was new there. There wasn't that many workers there, but he had been on me because I was new and tried to really show himself as being stern. I was concerned, not wanting to look like I was, being lazy at the job. And but every time I've used an angle grinder before, I've always worn eyewear. This is a personal story here. I've always worn eyewear. I knew to wear eyewear because I've done stuff with angle grinders before, just even, at my house. Or you're supposed to always wear eyewear because they shoot off metal sparks, and if metal sparks get in your eye, it's no good, and I'll get into that later on in the story. But they asked me to use an angle grinder to saw down a metal pole, and I'm going around asking everybody, hey, where's the eyewear? Where's the eyewear? Where's the eyewear? Where's the eyewear? Keep in mind, we've been sawing wood too, I'd been doing a lot of digging, and I was, because I was new, I was supposed to be digging. I was, about a month into it. And so that's why I had to cut this metal bar, because it was in the ground in a trench I was supposed to be digging. And as I went down, they said, we don't have any. They basically just said, everyone there said, we don't have eyewear. It was stupid of me to not use eyewear, obviously. I should have done something there at the spot. But when you're new at the job and everyone else is telling you to do something, you're a lot less likely, to do it. And it was dumb of me. But I went ahead and sawed it without an angle grinder. And guess what? Later on, in the day, my eyes began itching a lot and started stinging. And I realized, I got a metal spark in my eye. And, the first thing you do is Google what happens if you get a metal spark in your eye. It says, go to the emergency room immediately to get it removed. Or you might lose vision in both eyes within a few days. I'm like, oh, great. So I go to the emergency room. They basically take a little needle thing, a little scraper thing, and scrape my eye, scrape the metal that's in my eye. get it out. I had to go see an eye doctor, the Monday. That was on a Friday, and so that was on a Thursday, and then the next day was a Friday. They said, you can't return to work until you go see the eye doctor. Well, I got a medical note and everything. Told the boss what happened, over text, because that's kind of how we had communicated about, whether work was, if we were getting rained out or not. And so, the next day, towards the end of the day, the boss calls me and immediately just starts yelling, cussing me out, talking about, in our policy, it says you have to wear eyewear. I'm like, what policy? I've never seen a piece of paper. I've never read policy. Is your policy just something you made up in your head? You know what I mean? And he even threatened to take legal action against me for getting a metal spark in my eye, So, I had to go to the eye doctor, and next, I came back, and he started making me do these weird jobs. He would tell me to do, he would particularly make me get around, the metal wire that was cutting off, or that we'd be pouring concrete into, and he'd want me to dig stuff out under these metal wires that were, we would never do and didn't need to do, and he wanted me to do it with my hands. I couldn't do it with a shovel. I had to do it with my hands. It was really weird how I had to start doing that, when I got back. One of the coworkers told me I shouldn't have gone to the doctor, and he said it was because I wouldn't have gone blind. And so I'm like, all right, well, thank you, Dr. Dipshit. I guess all those doctors that had just, scraped on my eye all night, they didn't know what they were talking about. I guess every, safety recommendation for using an angle grinder is just, all of them are just stupid. I guess the rules of using an angle grinder, work regulations, that's all just stupid. This is before COVID, by the way. This was actually the year of COVID, but COVID was actually happening, but this was right before COVID hit. Thank God I didn't work for these people during COVID, which, within the next 2 weeks, I got back. You tell that's the kind of stuff his boss was saying around him. I shouldn't have gone to the hospital. I should have just gone blind for his fucking company, right? But we ended up, I came back in 2 weeks. Within the next 2 weeks, they were already asking me to saw metal again with the angle grinder. And I said, okay, where the hell is the eyewear now? Your boss said there's eyewear here. Where is it? And they're like, we don't have eyewear. And they didn't have eyewear. The boss lied about that. And I'm like, they said, we use angle grinders all the time and we don't get sparks in our eyes. As if me getting a spark in my eye was just me being stupid. It was normal good workers would be able to break all precautions with angle grinders. They're able to look down at the metal bar they're cutting and not get sparks in their eyes without just glasses, which is why, they're made, why construction glasses are made. And I quit. I walked out. I said, I'm not doing that shit. And it hit my pockets. I made less money after that, but I have both my eyes. I started to have a little trouble seeing. I used to have really great eyes, but sometimes I have trouble seeing a little bit, but I still have both my eyes. At the end of the day, I'd rather have that than what they're paying me. So you can see why a lot of workers are not trying to jump back into COVID world after what the U.S. did to them this whole past year, where they, we didn't have any real lockdown. They didn't send out any assistance, while other countries sent out monthly assistance. So it's usually equivalent to at least $1,000 a month. And people suffered horribly here because of it. So naturally, there's these unemployment things and this unemployment assistance that people had that, just for workers. Not everybody got it. I know people that they had their jobs, they never got unemployment because there was just too many people needing it because of how poorly our country handled COVID-19. That's a little personal story to give context of what employers are often like in Arkansas. I've had other terrible employers that would, when somebody applied for a job, they sit in the office and then they'd come out around us and tell us these bigoted things about the people who just employed. But what can anybody there do? Even if people who are of the same marginalized group of people that person applying for a job was, they couldn't say we couldn't say anything. It was sick because then we lose our money, we lose our job, we get treated, we get made up for something. We know they would lie because they just lied about the people that just came in. And we would in capitalism, that doesn't just mean that you don't have that job anymore. that means that you have the things that you're struggling with to even pay, you don't even get what you can get. Like you won't have water, you won't have a house, nobody has insurance here. Nobody owns their own house. A lot of people are just never going to do that, no matter how hard they work for somebody. You don't have electricity. If you have kids, you're way out of luck with them. Your whole life goes away. That's what capitalism is, because we see wealth and class as a true form of hierarchy. It's hierarchy in its most fluid form. That when you hear about people talk about total control, and it's wealth. It's wealth is what it is. Wealth in capital in its truest form. And we know that. Like we know that's at the end of the day. A government. You can say, oh, the government's got all this power to do this, and but what we know is that when that government can be bought out, then that government has all the power to do that. That's the difference between a proletariat state and a bourgeois state. But okay, enough about this. Let's go into this email that the Arkansas Division of Workforce Services sent out to everybody who's registered with them, which is anybody who's an employer in the state of Arkansas. Dear employer, the number one topic of conversation among employers is the difficulty you are having filling job vacancies. It's a concern for us too, and we want to help. As your state workforce agency, we are doing everything we can to identify and stop unemployment fraud and encourage Arkansans to get back to work. So on this first paragraph, I guess basically what I want to talk about is where it says, and we can everything we can to identify and stop unemployment fraud. So we'll see as what they see as being suspicious of employment fraud later in this video, or later in this email. Governor Hutchinson, this is continuing. Governor Hutchinson has directed the Division of Workforce Services to end Arkansas's participation in federal pandemic unemployment programs effective June 27, 2021. So any federal pandemic unemployment program, Arkansas, even if it's federal, this isn't a state program, they're cutting it off federally. People can't get unemployment now after experiencing the worst handling of COVID in the world. Particularly Arkansas isn't. And like I was saying, Biden is pushing for this too, so this is probably what's going to happen on a national level. It's kind of why it's relevant, but this is just the Arkansas Division of Workforce Services. For those who remain eligible for regular state unemployment insurance, DWS is conducting weekly random audits of work search records. Failure by the claimant to submit accurate documentation of job contacts can result in disqualification and denial of benefits. So they're going to cut people's benefits off if they disqualify. Some employers have reported individuals who contact them to ask for specific information to put on their work search contact record, but express no interest in applying for a job. So if you're just calling around, have reported individuals who contact them to ask for specific information to put on their work search contact record, but express no interest in applying for a job. So they say that some people are calling people who are that they don't even work for and say, hey, can you just tell them I worked here? So I guess some people did that. And it's like, I get why some people did that. We're in a very messed up situation right now, and we still are in. We assure you DWS can prevent a claimant from benefiting from attempts to defraud, but in order to act, we must be notified. In bold lettering, that's where you come in. You are encouraged to report any suspicious activity that could be related to unemployment fraud or a potential disqualification, even if you do not know whether the individual is claiming unemployment benefits. If you provide the information, we'll do the rest. Let us know. Okay, so here we are with the unemployment fraud again. This is suspicious activity that could be related to unemployment fraud. So for some reason, our state they couldn't send out any money to help people that were homeless during COVID-19, that were getting evicted, that were getting that had no health insurance that got it, and people with insurance who didn't. We couldn't do anything to better our medical field, because I know people with insurance, and it's just horrible. They didn't get the oxygen they need, and those are the people with insurance. Naturally, they're going to get insurance if they can. Those are people with insurance. Our medical system is that bad that even if you don't have health insurance, your insurance companies don't really, they're unreliable as could be, because they have to fill out all this stuff to make sure and file every little thing, because it's their money. Like, they're going to be like, all right, well, you're doing this with what you pay us every month, and so we're just coming in to monitor that. And as a result, people didn't get the things they needed in time because of how long insurance companies were looking at everything, and making sure that they had everything documented, and people died because of that. Okay, so this is what they say is a suspicious activity that could be related to unemployment fraud. Let us know when an applicant refuses offers of suitable work. So if you turn down a job, that's what Biden's talking about. Fails to appear for an interview. Okay, so this is like if you miss the interview, these employers can report you and you can lose your unemployment benefits. Fails to appear for or pass a drug screen. This is kind of what they've been pushing for a long time. The capitalists, saying that, oh, well, people on unemployment benefits should get drug tested, or if they're receiving any welfare or anything, they should get drug tested. Fails to return to work when recalled. So, like with that situation where I nearly went blind, I would lose my unemployment benefits. If I was like, I don't want to go blind, I'm going to have to leave. Fails to return employer calls after inquiring about a job. So, and what's interesting is that you could be led on to another job by another company that you're more interested in, and maybe make I guess in their eyes, a mistake of not answering the other employer's phone calls, and you lose your unemployment benefits. Fails to deliberately, okay, this one, or fails to return employer's calls after inquire about a job. This one is bad. Deliberately presents oneself in a negative way to avoid job offers. Because this is a complete judgment call by these employers. And this is why this is bad. This is a complete judgment call. For them to say, oh, they're deliberately presenting themselves in a negative way to avoid job offers. Going back to that, employer who would come out and say bigoted things about the people who applied for a job at the place we work at. Well, they could just go, oh, well, I don't like the way they dressed. And a lot of these employers are, as we know, they're of a certain class. They are a settler class. They're a lot of times racist. They're a lot of times bigoted in general. They're transphobic, homophobic. And these are the people who are just making judgment calls to see if you're presenting yourself in a negative way. Now let's think about, say a trans person goes in and this is like a complete bigot, that the employer who says, oh, well, they choose to be trans. That's the transphobic line, that it's a choice to be trans. They could consider that deliberately presenting themselves and file, and then that trans person loses their unemployment. That's an example. That's the one I really picture happening a lot in Arkansas, because a lot of these new laws are really targeting trans people really hard. That might be for a different episode. This is a complete judgment call to a class that everyone knows is extremely bigoted, that survives off of fascist and nationalist ideology to maintain their capitalist order. We know that. Those are big words that the majority of people may not understand, but we know that a lot of times these bosses are racist. And 2020, a lot of people were saying, why do they only talk about the police when there's other systemic issues that affect black people? And so this would be one of those, other issues, systemic issues. Sure, we're going at the police because those are the ones that are just deliberately murdering people every day to every other day in this country. But this is another way that somebody could that a racist could go, oh, I don't like, they were intentionally presenting themselves wrong. I decided myself that they were doing that. And then that person loses their unemployment benefits. Whereas, another petty bourgeois white person walks in, and a white male walks in that's cis and straight and all that, it comes off as straight. And that employer is going to be more likely to be like, I don't know if I'm going to hire him or not, but I mean, he probably would be likely to hire them. And that's been the issue the entire time, right? But that would be how somebody, those people, they would say, I don't want to cut off their unemployment benefits. We'll say they tried, Whereas somebody who was legitimately trying to get this job, to get out of the economic hellhole that the U.S. has been during COVID. But if they're a marginalized person, well, this bigoted boss could easily decided that they're not, they're deliberately presenting themselves in a negative way to avoid the job offer. And we know how those racists are. We know how they'll do. This is the last one. Negotiates hours and pay to stay below the maximum allowed to continue receiving benefits. So if you try to negotiate hours and pay with the boss, I mean, probably anytime they can say they're just doing that so they don't collect benefits anymore. You can't do that anymore when you apply for jobs. These are all the worker rights that are getting stripped if you want to even live anymore after this. So yeah, these are the suspicious activities that could be related to unemployment fraud and can get somebody kicked off of unemployment. Reporting is easy. You can report to DWS in the following ways. Tax 21, log into Tax 21 using the second option you see on the Tax 21 homepage. Once you log in, choose option 3, 4, 5, or 6. Depending on the type of report you are submitting, to report anything that does not fall into a category with the specific form, please use option 3, report unemployment insurance fraud. Number 2, refusal of work form. This is an online form that you could fill out and submit directly to the DWS website. Employers can post an unlimited number of jobs for free on Arkansas Job Link. Sounds like a bunch of traps to lose your unemployment. The state's online job board. With an employer account, you can manage job posts, create a company profile, save searches for qualified candidates, and more. All DWS clients are registered in Arkansas Job Link, giving employers access to a large pool of candidates who are actively searching for work. Visit blah, blah, blah to get started today. We hope this email is helpful to you as an Arkansas employer. Thank you for your time and cooperation. Sincerely, Arkansas Division of Workforce Services Administration. So yeah, down here is their website and all this. You could probably find their number or anything you want to, if you ever want to say anything to them about this email. Okay, so next, let's look here. This is an NPR article where we're getting, it's by Alana Wise, May 10th, 2021. So this is 3 days before that email got sent out that this article came out. It says, Americans will lose unemployment benefits if they turn down jobs, Biden says. See, the picture here says, President Biden delivers remarks on the economy Monday in the East Room of the White House, pushing back on critics who say the American Rescue Plan is making the economy worse. All right, so it says, those collecting unemployment benefits under the American Rescue Plan must accept suitable employment when offered, President Biden said Monday, responding to last week's underwhelming April jobs report. We are going to make it clear that anyone collecting unemployment who is offered a suitable job must take the job or lose their unemployment benefits, Biden said before adding, we don't see much evidence of that. I don't know what that means. We don't see much evidence of that. So here he is just saying the exact same thing as that email. Basically what happened in that email. Anyone collecting unemployment who is offered a suitable job must take the job or lose their unemployment benefits. So this is why I don't understand. How are you going to know what is a suitable job? Who is offered a suitable job? Do you know everybody's personal life to where you could say, oh, this job is suitable? If you accidentally go apply at a place that has like a Confederate flag waving outside and you don't want to work there, like, because you see that, or you walk in and it, has like a, it was commonly like a hate group logo, like, the 3%ers or something, like on a truck. You're like, yeah, you know what? I don't much want to work here. Like, well, if this is just considered a suitable job for you, you have to take it, or you're going to not have unemployment anymore. I don't know how they're going to know what's a suitable job. How are you going to go to every single American, like, what is it, 350 million of them? 360 million of them or something like that, and know what's suitable for them? Isn't that their knowledge more than you? What's suitable for them? Okay, so the president's remarks come just days after the latest jobs report showed fewer jobs created than expected. 260,000 versus about 1 million. Some employers say that they're finding it difficult to find workers, and Republican critics argue that's because of the checks Americans are receiving from the coronavirus stimulus package. This is what he says. Let's be clear, our economic plan is working. I never said, and no serious analyst ever suggested, that climbing out of the deep hole our economy is in would be simple, easy, immediate, or perfectly studied, Biden said. Some months will exceed expectations, others will fall short. Republicans who uninformedly opposed the historic $1.9 trillion recovery package seized on the jobs report as evidence that Biden's policies were directly harming U.S. businesses and slowing the nation's economic recovery from the virus. This is a stunning economic setback, Representative Kevin Brady, Republican, Texas, wrote in a Friday tweet after the report came out. Unequivocal proof that President Biden is sabotaging our jobs recovery with promises of higher taxes and regulation on local businesses that discourage hiring, drive jobs overseas. Brady leads the minority vote on the powerful House Ways and Means Committee. The Twitter page for Republicans on the committee wrote on Friday, U.S. job growth for the month of April fell far below what experts had predicted. Democrats are paying 4 in 10 jobless more to stay home than to return to work. So this sounds like a real issue, like where we're trying to recover and all this, but it sounds like an issue that employers won't pay people. I mean, they're the ones that are, this is minimum stuff. This is welfare. There's no way they'd send out enough money to where it was like a suitable living. Or, I mean, not even a suitable living. It hasn't been a suitable living. It's a very minimum check. And people are getting on unemployment. I mean, I guess it's matching their previous work to keep them out but, well, no. Unemployment is like, it's a very low check. It's we didn't get the $15 minimum wage. So, I mean, it says kind of more about these employers and that they're not paying, and that's because, they don't have to, because we haven't, and they're naturally going to pay people less if they can. It shows a lot about their character, sure. But, the employers in Arkansas, like, where I live, they're, not saying all employers are this way. I mean, there are weird situations where you have to file as an employer, and I get that, because of certain things you're doing, but a vast majority of them are a very bourgeois or petty bourgeois class-minded people. And they're going to profit as much as they can, as they've, no matter what it does to the people that work for them. In his Monday remarks to reporters, Biden pushed back on the suggestion that funds from the progressive relief package were being abused in any meaningful way and encouraged employers to offer competitive wages that court Americans back into the workforce. I mean, you could encourage them. You could be like, hey, and y'all should do that. I told them. But you're not making them pay any higher of a wage. Like, it's, My expectation is that the economy comes back. These companies will provide fair wages and safe work environments. What a utopian idea. Anyway, and if they do, they'll find plenty of workers. And we're all going to come out of this together and better than before. And again, this is why liberalism to me is a utopian ideology. They're not going to. We're not going to be able to rely on the so-called free market for ethics, because if if profit and capital are the only motivations here, and there's no intervention on that, there's no say, well, except we can't violate people's lives. We can't destroy people's lives and put them out on the street and give them the option to, people are going to have to feed their kids. And if that means being violated in a horrible way, that's what they'll do. And the bourgeois state knows that. They know that they can coerce people to do these things like that a lot of us have experienced. I'm very thankful I don't have children in the United States. I would move somewhere else if I did. No one should be allowed to game the system. Biden said that, and I'm looking at the people who endorsed Biden, when they dropped like $1 trillion bailout in February on those banks and the corporations, and, while they're still saying they don't think COVID's real and China's making it up. Anyway, Biden said that while he took allegations of fraud seriously, the government could not turn our backs on those who had lost jobs as a result of the pandemic. This article still kind of sets Biden as like a mediator between like a class mediator here. He placed the blame for the sluggish state of the national economy on his predecessor, former President Donald Trump, who Biden said bungled his handling of the virus and its fallout. We'll insist that the law is followed with respect to benefits, but we're not going to turn our backs on our fellow Americans. 22 million people lost their jobs in this pandemic through no fault of their own. They lost their jobs to a virus and to a government that bungled its response to the crisis and failed to protect them, Biden said. Americans want to work. Americans want to work for a livable wage. That's what, is what we're trying to say here. But they're not going to go into the livable wage conversation. Now, why is Biden backing this? Why maybe Joe Biden is pushing for kind of this coercion of taking jobs that are offered or losing unemployment benefits. So here we have the probably least paying corporation that ever exists in the United States. And this is McDonald's. And I mean, there's some bad ones. Let's look at the average employee. This is according to payscale.com. McDonald's Corporation jobs by hourly rate. So here we have the here's the average prices. So we're talking about a $15 minimum wage. Well, here's McDonald's is one of these places that they're shutting down different places because they don't pay anybody anything and nobody's trying to come in and work. They don't have enough workers because everyone knows that this is like the worst place to work ever. That I've never worked there, so can I say I've worked at some bad places. So, but this is their average pay. The cashier range is $8 to $12. So minimum wage is $7.25 an hour still. With with everything that's gone up in car commodities, right? But here's the average price for somebody who works as a cashier at McDonald's is $8 to $12 an hour. We know around here it's probably going to be closer to $8. The average is $9 an hour. That's across the country. I mean, that's in places where rent is like $1,800 a month for like an average apartment. Fast food worker, $9 an hour, 8 to 12. The manager only makes an average of $12 at most. Some managers, some places get $15 an hour. The crew leader gets an average of $10 an hour, $8 to $12, like everyone else here. It's like, man, if I worked at McDonald's, I wouldn't want to be a crew leader if it's more work, I wouldn't want to be a crew leader, and this is the same thing going on here. They're not paying people anything. They're expecting us to go work for less, even though that's supposed to completely go against what free market is. That we have to go work, Okay. And the food service worker makes $7, which is below minimum wage. But I say $7.25. $7 to $12 an hour. That's an average of $9. So with that being to say here, we know that McDonald's obviously didn't want the $15 minimum wage. going on, and I mean, we could go into all kinds of stuff behind Biden's thing, but here's what happened recently. McDonald's. This is May 11th. So this is a day after. This is a day after Biden came out and said, like, or from that article at least, that said that, that if you deny a job, you lose your unemployment. I guess Trump's presidency was bad, but it wasn't that bad, according to Biden, that, we have to recover ourselves here in the least after taking the worst beating ever of in the world. 1 out of 6 people with COVID in the world were people in the U.S. Something like 1 out of 500 and something died from COVID, of Americans died. 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 11 of them got COVID. That's what we're dealing with here. That's because we didn't have a lockdown. We didn't do anything to contain this. The government spent nothing on containing this. They just wanted us to go work for these people because these people lobbied for that to happen. And now they're like, no, come work for us again for what, like the pandemic didn't even happen. But hey, they partnered with Biden. This is that lesser evil stuff you're talking about, So McDonald's partners with the Biden administration to provide trusted independent information on COVID-19 vaccines. So here's what we're getting. Isn't that nice? We can do this. Oh, Trump would never partner with McDonald's to put out cups that say we can do this. Who needs unemployment? Who needs any sort of material recover from COVID-19? We can totally get cups that say we can do this. Isn't that the most liberal phrase you've ever heard in your life? Okay. McCafe cups and McDelivery seal stickers will help raise vaccine awareness this summer. We can do this campaign ads launch on McDonald's Times Square billboard later this month. That's what we're losing our unemployment for, is cups that say we can do this. Thank you everybody who voted for Biden. Thank you so much. The people out here who died left and right and are losing their family and losing everything that they have. They really appreciate the McDonald's cups. This had nothing to do with the system. This had all to do with Trump and nothing to do with the system that Biden had been implementing his entire political career. And this is the McDonald's website, by the way. Chicago, May 11, 2021. As part of our ongoing efforts to support communities and local neighborhoods during the COVID-19 pandemic. I know I keep stopping and reading this because it's just, as part of our ongoing efforts to support communities and local neighborhoods during the COVID-19 pandemic, we are making sure that we raise our wages up high enough to where people can fucking live. Sorry. McDonald's is partnering with the Biden administration to make access to information on vaccines even easier for the millions, even easier than it's already been. All these anti-vax people out here just don't have access, there's nothing to, it's not a sign of our lack of education in this country at all. Vaccines even easier for the millions of customers who enjoy McDonald's each day in the U.S. Every day they go pile in a ton of money into any given McDonald's in a neighborhood community. This is what the Republicans talk about when they say local businesses. They mean McDonald's. The initiative will begin later this month with the debut of COVID-19 vaccine information from trusted third parties on McDonald's billboard in Times Square. We're going to take our big billboard that you helped buy for us for $8, $9 an hour, and we're going to put this on it. Starting in July, McDonald's Hot McCafe trademark cups and McDelivery trademark seal stickers will lead customers to vaccines.gov, where they can learn more about how they can protect themselves and the people they love from COVID-19, as well as where to find vaccine appointments near them. So take that, you leftists. Take that, all you communists out there. Not only is it's not just a slogan. They also have a website here you can go to and learn about vaccines, as well as where to find vaccine appointments near them. The new packaging and ads feature art from the national We Can Do This campaign, setting the campaign slogan against a map of the United States. McDonald's is committed to making helpful information accessible to our customers, who are encouraged to share the campaign using hashtag #WeCanDoThis to inspire others to learn more about what they can do to help end the pandemic. How woke. Quote, who is this? We all want to protect ourselves and our loved ones and be together with our communities again. McDonald's is excited to be doing our part for the people we serve, not the people who are actually serving the people that you think you serve. Providing them with simple information that can help keep them safe. Jenna Gent, McDonald's USA Vice President for Global Public Policy and Government Relations, said, "This is a team effort. It takes all of us. We're proud to enter this partnership to provide trusted, independently verified information about COVID-19 vaccines to our customers in the nearly 14,000 communities that we serve. Getting vaccinated is easy. More than 150 million people have already gotten at least one dose of vaccine, and millions more are getting vaccinated every day," said HHS Secretary Xavier Becerra. Thanks to McDonald's, people will now be able to get trusted. Thanks to McDonald's, people will now be able to get trusted information about vaccines when they grab a cup of coffee or order a meal. Ending this pandemic requires all of us working together to do our part, including encouraging our friends and family to get vaccinated. This effort will help more people make informed decisions about their health and learn about steps they can take to protect themselves and their communities. Returning to normal will require extraordinary partnerships between businesses, governments, and community and health organizations. This partnership builds on McDonald's continued efforts to provide for the safety of customers and restaurant crew throughout this pandemic. McDonald's remains committed to being as safe as possible for crew and customers and has enhanced more than 50 safety processes at restaurants over the last year. In addition, McDonald's announced in January that managers and crew at corporate-owned U.S. restaurants and U.S. corporate employees will receive up to 4 hours of paid time to receive the vaccine. So that's like, on average, $36. They get $36 as a whole. Earlier this month, McDonald's hosted a vaccination clinic at our and I mean that sounds nice and all, but I mean, but if you decide not to take it, you lose your livelihood. We don't take that $36, not just for the vaccine, but for not working at this place. McDonald's hosted a vaccination clinic at our Chicago headquarters for local crew, franchisees, corporate employees, and contractors. All right, we want to read about McDonald's. McDonald's is the world's leading global food service retailer with over they are the world leading. Okay, so we read what they pay their workers, but they are the world leading global food service retailer with over 39,000 locations in over 100 countries. Keep in mind, $9 an hour is the average payment for anybody in the United States working at McDonald's, including nearly 14,000 restaurants in the United States. Approximately 93,000 of McDonald's restaurants worldwide are owned and operated by independent local business owners. That's probably not hard to do. It's probably not hard to do at all when you can pay employees that low. I really think that your pet dog could go own a McDonald's and manage the profit off of it. If your pet dog was like born with inherited wealth that, where he could actually get a McDonald's. About the We Can Do This campaign. The HHS COVID-19 Public Education Campaign is a national initiative to increase public confidence in and uptake of COVID-19 vaccines while reinforcing basic prevention measures such as mask wearing and social distancing through a nationwide network of trusted messengers and consistent fact-based public health messaging. The campaign helps the public make informed decisions about their health and COVID-19, including steps to protect themselves and their communities. I mean, I honestly can't think of anything more disgusting than McDonald's telling me that they're helping their community. That's sick. Absolutely sick. We can do this. We can do this. This is what we're having to. This is why people's kids will die. Is that we could have cups like this to say we can do this. Okay, well, this has been another episode of D2A. Thank y'all for tuning in. You know, this is what we're looking at now. You know, it's like being offered a job is like an attack on your livelihood at this point, on your material reality. It's an attack on your family. Even being offered a job, because you have to take this job if Biden's government or the Arkansas government decides, or whatever state you live in, decides that it's a suitable job for you. You know, the government that spends tons of tax money to keep Confederate statues on their properties or on their with your tax money to do it, you have to go to work if they think that place is suitable for you. It doesn't matter what that company has behind it. If they think it's suitable for you, you work, or your kids die of a disease, or they're taken from you, or they live out in the street with you. That's where we live at in the United States. This is the reality of living in a bourgeois state. The workers have no power. So yeah, this concludes this episode of D2A. Feel free to share. Please let people know, because people do need to know this before they start taking a job somewhere, or they even take interest in a job. They need to know what they're putting on the line, what they refuse to give the workers in this country, the lengths that they go. Okay, thank y'all. D2A signing off.